Okay, so let's cover the addressing at link layer. Before that, let's see what all of this is. So at link layer, we are dealing with links, that is the actual wires or wireless mediums. And for that, you need to know this terminology. So we have what we call local area networks or LANs. So anything behind this router, that is anything behind this router here, is part of the local area network. That is, it's part of the same network or subnetwork. And once you have reached this subnetwork, as we saw in autonomous systems, we find out how to reach subnetworks during end-to-end routing. Once you have reached the subnetwork, now it is the responsibility of switches to send or to forward data to the correct host. So now we are not looking at routers, we are looking at switches because we have entered our network or subnetwork. And now it's the responsibility of switches to do all this. So how does a switch do all this? Switches forward data or send data to the appropriate host by looking at MAC addresses. So the network adapters addresses. And why are they looking at MAC addresses, not IP addresses? Because now we are dealing with different kinds of mediums. So suppose there's this host and it's connected with a wired medium. Suppose there's another host, it might be connected with a wireless medium. So you also need to take into account the medium through which your host is connected. So switches are devices that operate at the link layer, whereas routers are devices that operate at network layer. Obviously, they do operate at the link layer too, because if something has network layer protocols running, it will definitely have link layer protocols running too. But switches only operate at the link layer. So they switch link layer frames rather than network layer datagrams. So sending out network layer datagrams is the responsibility of routers, which operate at network layer, whereas actual forwarding, I mean, not forwarding, that's not the correct term, but sending frames to the hosts is the responsibility of switches. So switches operate at the link layer, and you should know this. So where are all these TCP/IP protocols run? All the protocols and some part of the link layer protocols too, including this encapsulation, all of this stuff is run in the CPU. So the upper layer protocols and some aspects of link layer are run in the CPU. And then after that, after the entire frame has been constructed, it is sent to the controller inside the network adapter. So remember, network adapter was the NIC. And then this controller will add some of other bits if needed, etc., do error checking or whatever. And it will forward this data to physical links, that is the physical transmission controller, whose responsibility is to convert this data into the appropriate signal for this specific link. So this is one NIC. You can have multiple such NICs, which are all responsible for different kinds of links. And so this is where our TCP/IP protocol stack is run. So most of it is run in the CPU, and then the link layer part of it is majorly run in the network adapter, which is an actual hardware device inside your host. So if the CPU has a datagram, it will send that datagram to the NIC, and the NIC controller will add some of these bits, the headers and the trailer bits, and then it will convert it to the appropriate signal and then send it, that is, send the frame across the link. And then similarly, receiving host will decapsulate it and so on. So network interface cards have 48-bit MAC addresses or 6-byte MAC addresses. So MAC addresses are represented by hexadecimal numbers. So this F stands for 4 ones. This F stands for 4 ones. So this means this is 8 ones, 8 ones, 8 ones, 8 ones, 8 ones, 8 ones. So it's a 48-bit MAC address. 6 8s are 48. And every NIC is identified by such a MAC address. You must have, in fact, even seen this kind of device, hardware. So this is an NIC, and it will have a 48-bit MAC address, which will in fact be written somewhere here, and you cannot change that MAC address generally. So why is it written in hexadecimal? Because it's a huge number. So writing it in hex is easier. And of course, it will also help to distinguish this from the IP address. So that's why it's written in hexadecimal, and NICs implement the link layer protocols. So there's one NIC for every interface that you have. So suppose this is a wired interface, and this is the MAC address of the NIC that is responsible for wired interface. Suppose I have another interface here, which is a wireless interface. So the NIC that is responsible for wireless interface will have a different MAC address, as I showed you on my laptop here. So these two NICs, the NIC for Wi-Fi and the NIC for Bluetooth, have different physical addresses. So there's one NIC for every interface. That is one MAC address for every interface. So a device can have, a host can have multiple MAC addresses. Also notice that switches don't have MAC addresses because switches work transparently. So if you want to send data somewhere, you don't need to know the MAC address of that switch, because this switch will directly forward this data to your destination MAC address. So the switch itself does not need to be addressed. So switches don't have MAC addresses, whereas routers interfaces do have MAC addresses because routers connect two different networks too. So routers interfaces do have MAC addresses, whereas switches don't. And again, this is as I showed you earlier. So when an NIC receives a frame, the first thing it does is it checks if the frame's destination MAC address is the same as its own MAC address. That is, if the frame is actually meant for this NIC or not. If this frame is not meant for this NIC, then that frame will be discarded. And if it is meant for this NIC, first error correction and checking in on all of those stuff will be done. And then it'll extract the frames, it'll extract the datagram from the frame and send the datagram to the network layer. So this entire stuff, these entire bits will be extracted from that frame and sent to network layer. So this will be extracted and sent to the network layer. But the first thing that an IC does is check if the frame is actually addressed to itself or not. If it's not addressed, then the frame doesn't even need to be processed. It will be discarded. So this is when it receives a frame. What about when it sends a frame? So when it is sending a frame, as we've seen earlier, it has to write source and destination MAC address fields inside the frame's header. So how will I know the destination MAC address? I will of course know my own MAC address, but how will I know the destination's MAC address? So the answer to this is the address resolution protocol. And address resolution protocol, basically it will give you a MAC address if you give it an IP address. So in ARP, what happens is that an NIC, oh sorry, why is it not letting me? So NIC will look at an ARP table, and that ARP table will be referenced to find out MAC addresses. So ARP resolves IP address to MAC address. And this is analogous to DNS, where we had a host name, remember, such as google.com, and DNS servers or domain name servers translated those host names to actual IP addresses, which we then queried. So something similar happens with the ARP protocol. So if you give it an IP address, it'll give you the MAC address. Not exactly give, we'll see that later. But the main thing to remember here is all of this is happening in your own local area network. So you are only allowed to know the MAC addresses of everyone else on your own network. You are not allowed to know MAC addresses of hosts or devices outside your network. So all of this address resolution will happen only within your network. So if there is a node or a host in California that is trying to use ARP to resolve an IP address for another host who is sitting in Mississippi, ARP would return an error because it is not allowed, you are not allowed to know the MAC addresses of devices that are outside your host, outside your network, sorry. So how does ARP work? As I mentioned, there is an ARP table that we can look at. So every host will have an ARP table in its memory, this memory here. And the NIC will look at that ARP table. And this ARP table has a list of IP addresses. And these are all IP addresses inside my own network. And these are their corresponding MAC addresses. And this is time to live. That is, this is the time till which I will store this information, because there might be thousands of devices inside my own network. So I don't have to store the IP address of all of them. Definitely systems have limited memory, right? So I don't want to store the MAC address and IP address of everyone inside my network. So I will store it for a particular period of time, after which it will not be valid. So this TTL is time to live. How long will this IP address, MAC address be here? After this TTL, this will be deleted from the memory. So when I want to send a frame to someone, what I will do is I will find out their MAC address. That is, I want to know the destination's MAC address. So suppose I am this host and I want to send a frame to this host. So I will just look at this table and look at the MAC address that's corresponding to this host. And as soon as I look at the table, I will know the MAC address and I can write that MAC address inside my link layer frame. The destination MAC address can be written inside the frame. So, but this only works if I already know their MAC address. What if I don't know their MAC address? This is when the actual, this is when the actual resolution part comes in. What if the table does not have an entry for an IP address that I want to send the frame to? So what I'll do is I'll make an ARP query. And in this query, I will broadcast a message to every host inside my own network. And I will make an ARP query packet. I will send this packet to every host inside my network. And inside that packet, I will write the IP address of that host, which I want, whose MAC address I want. So the NIC will send this query packet to everyone on my local area network. So broadcast address will be used. Similar to broadcast address in IP protocol, we have broadcast address in MAC layer too, that is in link layer, and they're also all ones. So F, 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 all Fs. And I will send this ARP query packet to everyone inside my network by using this broadcast address. So suppose in this diagram, if B wants to know C's MAC address, and remember B and C are all on my own network. So B will send an ARP packet, it will broadcast an ARP packet or an ARP request. And this packet will be sent to everyone on the network. As soon as it reaches C, C will know that B is trying to talk to C. That is, B wants my IP address, my MAC address. So C will reply back with an ARP response in which it will write its own MAC address. So broadcast, and then reply, which is unicast. So this is actually similar to DHCP offer, sorry, DHCP discover, where you try to discover who is the DHCP server. So similarly here you are discovering what is the MAC address of this IP address that I have. So remember, B already has C's IP address. B wants to know C's MAC address so that B can talk to C's NIC. So what does a query packet look like? A query packet or an ARP packet looks like this. It has many different kinds of fields here. The important fields are sender's hardware address, sender's protocol address, target hardware, and target protocol. So if B is trying to send something, that is broadcast something, because it is broadcasting this request, B will write its own MAC address here, because remember, hardware addresses are MAC addresses, whereas protocol addresses in this case is the protocol that is running on top. So IP protocol. So protocol addresses are IP addresses. So B will write its own MAC address here. B will write its own IP address here. B will write C's IP address here because B knows C's IP address. And in this field, B will send a broadcast address because this ARP packet is getting broadcasted to everyone. So when this ARP packet is actually sent here, when this ARP packet is actually sent, the target hardware address is broadcast because I don't know the target hardware address. When C will receive this packet, what C will do is C will send back a reply. And in the reply, because now C is the sender, C will have this field filled in with its own MAC address. Because if C is sending something back to B, C will now become the sender. And the sender's hardware address is C's hardware address or C's MAC address. So C will write its MAC address here and it will send it back. So when it sends this back, when it unicasts this, that is only sends it to B, when it sends the ARP response back, B can now fill this table with an IP address of C and MAC address of C and with a particular time to live. That is, for how long will I store this address. So this is how ARP querying is done. And you can query everyone inside your network and try to build this table. And the next time you want to try to talk to anyone inside your network, you just have to look at this table to see their MAC address. And if you see that, then you'll be able to fill your frame with their MAC address as the destination MAC address, because your own MAC address will be the source MAC address. So this is how ARP works in a nutshell. And parts of this protocol is because it actually deals with IP addresses too. So it is considered to be somewhere here in the protocol stack because it's also dealing with IP addresses. So this is just even further bifurcation of the stack. So this is just for reference. You don't have to really do anything with this information. But address resolution protocol deals with IP addresses and MAC addresses both. So that's why it's considered to be here.